welcome to another tactical analysis of ASL. We have the scenario that we're working with today is Men of the Mountains, ASL scenario 265. As you see the italicized, maybe you can't see the italicized under here. This was a journal scenario from the second journal, I do believe. But we don't care about that. What we do care about is that it's in the fairly new 1-year-old Hollow Legions module. If you guys don't have this particular module, I say it's a pretty damn good deal. If you don't play a lot of desert, you don't have to worry about it. There are plenty of Italian scenarios which do not occur directly in the desert, or you have to worry about some of the desert rules. To be honest with you, the desert rules really aren't that difficult. They're far less difficult than the PTO. For the most part, the line of sight is far better. All you have to do is have to overcome maybe the hillock rules, but they do have a comprehensive example in the book, which I would definitely have you print that out, either if you have your digital version or whatever, lay it out in the map, look at the map, read it once, understand what the rules are trying to say, visualize what's occurring on the map, seeing what's consistent and what might be confusing. Find the stuff that you find easily understood by the rule, and then go back and double and triple check the stuff that you say, I don't know why that stupid LOS exists or it doesn't. It's not that difficult to understand. There are a couple of shortcut articles on it laying around in various different magazines, etc. But in my interpretation, the rules in the rule book are quite fine. There are pretty much the Hollow Legions rules and terrain is pretty much vehicular based. A lot of it's is due to bogging near sand, bogging in a Hamada, blowing up your tire when you're driving through Hamada, stuff like that. Most of the time, tanks are highly invulnerable to the bogging, etc. But it's your other vehicles that might have a problem. Wheeled vehicles move far faster in the open ground. There are a couple route considerations, pretty simple. But overall, I think a lot of people don't want to deal with the overlays in desert scenarios. That's not an issue in Vassal, people. If you play Vassal, pick this one up by someone who's getting rid of it for $100 or so. It's fantastic. The quality of the scenario cards is exceedingly high. When I picked it up, I felt there were 2 cards there, and I was trying to say, okay, are these stuck together or something like that? But they're not. I didn't expect much, especially with the new boards, new print overlays, but I was very pleasantly surprised with the change in quality of the game. So they do have the Soldiers of the Nagus, mostly infantry conflicts, might have a couple vehicles. I think some replays were online about that. Mostly infantry based, low firepower, things like that. So if you've played, or watched my Long March series, where you have low firepower units between the Chinese, the Red Chinese, and the KMT, low firepower units, pretty much you have to deal with tactics and movement in those scenarios. Usually they're high number of infantry units. And I think they are something to be learned from, considering you're not overwhelmed with either terrain or other considerations. You have to understand what you're up against, break down the scenario like we do here, and this is why we're here. We're breaking down scenarios to try and pick apart the scenario and maybe figure out a couple of advantages and disadvantages on either side. Anyway, again, if you don't like desert, you don't like the Italians, skip it, right? I love the Italians. I like how they suck. 3-4-6s. I love the challenge. Love the challenge. You know, even 4-5, or even your 4-5-8s can break. Even your SS units break. All elite units break, and you lose scenarios when you have all elite units. So the people that cry and complain that 3-4-6s are underpowered, they just want to not have to worry about their dice rolls and screwing up their movement. They're relying on their morale to get them through the open ground, with smoke and tanks and also the bullshit. Anyway, you've got to be much more aware of your surroundings with low morale units, low firepower units, and shorter range units, which the Italians are all of the above. So again, that's what makes them fun. Obviously, I prefer the 3-4-7s, but screw it. 3-4-6s, if you pass a morale check, the game's practically won. So let's get into the scenario. Men of the Mountains. Say, Stu, why'd you pick this scenario? You know, it's got the Italians, it's got the partisans, one board, 8 turns. It looks like a movement scenario. This should play quick. You should be able to burn this out in one setting, to be honest with you. If not, you should probably get to about turn 6 after a couple turns of conflict, rolling some dice, your fine dice towers, or clicking the DR on your IFT, on your Vassal, whatever you choose to do. 8 turns, not a problem. Reinforcements on turn 3 with the absolute partisans attack going on here. Now let me click on the thing, get a little closer. So it says previously issued as J34, it has been updated. You know, what the hell does that mean? Sometimes the update, does that mean a rebalancing of it? Does that mean something else? Did they just change the scenario number? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So if you care to compare the scenarios, you can do it a number of ways. You can actually dig out the scenario if you wish. If you have the scenario, right? Obviously, if you have the scenario, that's one thing. If you don't have the scenario, well, then you can't compare it. Again, that's the strength of and power and ability that the downloads from Wargame Vault allow you to do. The ASL annuals, it's got all the annuals, a crap load of scenarios, a couple fine scenarios. ASL journals got some classic scenarios in there now, and so you've got a plethora of gaming abilities with the journals. You can go back and check. I checked it. I checked the difference on here, and then we'll discuss those in just a moment. So, again, I like smaller configurations. Some people don't. Some people want to have lots of armor and blow shit up. One roll, one kill. Again, not why we picked this scenario. Infantry only. It's got one vehicle in it. Super low armor. The partisan machine guns, I think if they have it, I think they got a couple lights. Machine guns can penetrate the armor, so it is vulnerable to destruction. And it has relatively low firepower, 4 firepower. Decent, considering what it's opposing is partisans. And we'll go into why it's decent and why it might not be so good. All right? So the victory conditions here. Again, I love the image that the producers made here. Again, scenario design, Mark Brotherton. The design looks cool. I like the SSRs in this one. SSRs are extremely important. Extremely. I cannot emphasize it enough. Extremely important for you to read and fully understand. They will change the game more than the rulebook is confusing. Okay? So you've got your rulebook. You have to know your rules from the rulebook. And now you've got the SSR, which can throw monkey wrenches into that. So essentially they're extra rules, super extra rules that you have to consider. They don't have to be complicated. They are just different. And they will set your tone for the scenario and possibly provide strategies. So keep that in mind when you read the SSRs. Think to yourself, why the hell is this here? Why is that there? Why can't I do this? Why do they come on with half their movement factors expended? You know, most of those should be obvious. Some aren't. Okay, that's why we're here. Victory conditions. We have one board. Partisans win immediately if the Italian Cannone, I think it's Cannone de 7527. I don't speak Italian numbers, so let's go with that. Artillery gun is eliminated. So there's three things going on here. Eliminated or at game end by possessing the gun and or solely occupying the hex containing the gun. So the partisans can win under three conditions. Let's get through it. The gun is eliminated. How is the gun eliminated? Well, if you have heat weaponry, you can destroy the gun that way. If the gun takes a direct hit from like a critical hit from a mortar, it could be eliminated that way. More importantly, if the gun rolls a 6 on the repair, it could be eliminated that way. So we'll get to the gun there. So in that case, first things first, do you want to intensify the artillery piece as the Italians? If you intensifying it, you will malfunction it 1 out of 6 rolls, and then you will destroy it 1 out of 36 rolls. Do you want to take that chance? Maybe, maybe not. Your game plan dictates that risk. Not right or wrong to intensify the weapon. Understand the risk that you are involving yourselves in. If you're getting swarmed by the partisans, they're coming up, they're going to throw a demo charge and jam it right in your face under the gun, knock you out, and probably tie you to the barrel naked. That might be a chance that you have to try to blow them up. You might malfunction the gun. You're going to malfunction the gun 5 times more than you're going to destroy the gun on that intensifier roll. Okay? So that's one thing we're looking at. Possessing the gun. All right? That's number 2. That's the second way to win. Do we possess the gun? So we're in the hex. We shot guys out. We've got the gun. We roll for recovery. We have any unit, whether it's a leader, a half squad, full squad, hero, whatever. Broken unit possessing the gun is a victory condition. You possess it. It is in your possession, therefore you would win at game end. And or solely occupying the hex containing the gun. So, at the end of the game, let's circle that one. Solely occupying the hex. Okay. So if the enemy jumps on you in close combat, if he goes to jump on you in close combat, let's say you do not possess the gun. You cleared those units out. Oh, there you go. Let's say you shot at them. You broke them. They routed. One guy was remaining behind, and you had a 3-3-7 and a 7-0 partisan leader jump them in close combat. You do not possess the gun. The game ends. You are in melee, or killed him in melee, or whatever the conditions might be. You're in the hex. You're not solely in the hex, but yet you're in melee. That eliminates that potential as a victory condition. However, if you were to jump him into close combat and kill those units in close combat, but do not possess the gun at the end of the game, as the Italians move last, if the partisan is in that hex after a successful close combat, it eliminates the Italian units, and the Italian units can't come back and try to reoccupy that hex, you win the game that way. You don't have to possess it. But if you are solely occupying the hex containing the gun, then also is a victory condition. So 3 things will do it. Destroy the gun, which either side could do. Possess the gun, pretty straightforward. And possessing the gun doesn't mean you have to be alone in the hex with the gun. If you possess it, you're good to go. Solely occupying doesn't state that you have to possess the gun. So those 3 conditions are different. So the artillery piece is very important to get to. How you get there, that's up to you. All right, so let's get rid of this stuff. All right, so let's scroll down. Got to drag down, rather. A little bit OB. 8 turns. 8-turn scenario. Again, not that long. And because look at the OBs. You've got 8 squads. Essentially, probably 9 squad equivalents for the Italians. You've got 11 squads initially for the Partisans, and 3 coming on turn 3 on the north edge. All right. And a couple light machine guns. Again, those light machine guns can destroy the L235. Very small target. Dual machine gun BMG. It's a pretty nice looking tank. Fairly decent speed, low ground pressure. Impressive tank. It's good to go. Artillery piece. Again, we'll revisit that in a moment. The comparison between this scenario and the updated scenario, this is the updated scenario from the journal one. The only difference here in the OBs is they add an additional medium machine gun to the Italian OB. I think that's huge, and we're going to go over why that's huge. Well, depends. It's huge if you use it in certain ways, not huge if you use it in a different way. So the way you use that machine gun, it actually could give you versatility in what you need to do. So you'll see that there's a number of LMGs. The mortar's important. Why do they give you a mortar? We're going to go over that. 2 demo charges. Obviously, you can use that on the artillery piece. You can use that on opposing strong points, whatever. We're going to go with the DCs. The Partisans are very different. And I'm sure most of your ASLers play the Partisans incorrectly with regards to demo charges. Let's scroll down to the scenario special rules. Zoom in just a little bit. EC are moderate, don't really care. Place overlay, no big deal. Kindling NA, this should just be a rule. Doesn't need to be a scenario special rule. Just change it under fire. First thing, kindling is NA unless it's scenario. Kindling is allowed only by scenario special rule. That gets rid of this bullshit for people that forget to put it. It's as simple as that. In lieu of a 2.9, the Italians may freely deploy 2 squads prior to setup. That's very interesting, and we'll go into that. I think it's funny to me that it mentions 2.9, which essentially only designates 10% of your force being able to deploy. This might confuse some players later on in the scenario. It says here in the scenario special rule 2, the Italians may freely deploy less than or equal to 2 squads prior to setup. Interesting that's prior to setup. That might just be words that you just glazed over. And that's the deployment. And then all Italian infantry must set up in the buildings. And then exception, less than or equal to 2 squad equivalents. Coincidentally, that's the same less than or equal to 2 squads prior to setup. Of non-crew multi-man counters and any smack stubba stacked with them. Units in suitable terrain may set up entrenched. So right then and there, I think that gives you a clue of what you can do with those deployed units. You could use full squads to deploy, or you are using full squads to deploy. You can either put full squads in open ground and entrenched, or you could split them up, which I think you should, to give you 4 possible entrenchments. So, and because of the terrain, I think that would be the way to go, and that's the way I would play the scenario, but that's my game plan. Your game plan may vary. And the other thing about scenario special rule 2, it only allows deployment of 2 squads prior to setup. It does not give the Italians the ability to deploy. The Italians may not deploy unless they are elite. Their first line units may not deploy, and that's all they have in this game. So thinking that it gives you the ability to deploy during the game, it does not. So it's kind of tricky that you might think of deploying. Considering their 1 firepower, you probably won't. But it doesn't give you game duration deployment ability. Only prior to setup. Okay, very key in determining. Again, you might not want to think about deploying anyway. Most newer players don't think of deployment, but in some games, you could just simply win by deploying and just taking up space, to be honest with you. Those are poorly designed scenarios. Scenario Special Rule 3, the cannon, the artillery gun must set up unpossessed in an open ground or road hex. Okay? It may still be emplaced. Say, so what, Stu? I don't really care. Why should I care about that? Because it's unpossessed. Usually unpossessed guns are not emplaced. If you look under your emplacement rules, which you should read them, it says it may still be emplaced. Why would it say that? Why would it need to say that? Ask yourself, why is that sentence there? And then you'll learn more as you play each game, instead of just saying, oh, it could be in place. Yeah, whatever. And then your next game, if you have a gun that might not be in place and it doesn't say that, the gun is not considered to be emplaced. It must set up with an appropriate crew. Okay? But it may not use HIP, so it's just on board. Doesn't mean it's not concealed. It just says it may not use HIP. The L335, which is the little tank, which is the little tractor, must set up abandoned in an open ground or road hex. Okay, right then and there, first thing you should do, look up your abandon rules. How do I get in the tank? How do you get in the tank? You're not even putting a unit on the board until you figure that out. If you just start putting units of, I think I'll just bend it over here, and then you just, okay, let's go, and then you figure out during your game, well, you're just essentially just setting yourself up to lose. Check out the abandonment rules. Check out the reoccupying a friendly AFV, and then proceed with the rest of the scenario. Proceed the setup at that point. Okay? Find out what it takes to reoccupy the tank. Okay? From what I understand, it's a full movement phase. You expend all your movement factors, and you jump in the tank for the movement phase, which means you need to start your player turn, your movement phase in the hex with the abandoned tank to occupy it. And that's it. I'm not sure if you're TI. Again, I'd have to review that, whether you're not abandoned. I think you just expend all your movement factors. So, and then Scenario Special Rule 4, again, 3 is huge. It's got unpossessed, emplaced, no HIP, abandoned. Essentially, it's like 4 special rules that normally is not included in a game in that Scenario Special Rule. So, don't glaze over it. Very important. Number 4, partisan. Again, you see this crap. If you've been playing ASL, this is like the regurgitated bullshit. You see scenario after scenario after scenario. And this Scenario Special Rule here has screwed up ASLers in future partisan games because sometimes this Scenario Special Rule is not present. This is like the regurgitated thing like kindling is not applicable. Same bullshit. The partisan 527s, 227s have underscored morale factor. The 527 squads do not have assault fire. Okay? It has assault fire here. Valsal might not have them, but you don't get assault fire. It's huge to understand that it doesn't have assault fire in this game. Underscore morale factor. If you fail ELR, you break into half squads. Okay. Most partisans have ELR 5. Since you're fighting Italians, it's unlikely you're going to fail a morale check because more than likely they're not going to get a level 2 morale check on you. Unless they roll like snake eyes on an 8 chart. And even then, +1's a K2. You're unlikely to miss the ELR. So in partisan scenarios, usually doesn't apply. The 527s do not have assault 5. Partisans may neither deploy nor form multi-location fire groups. That's usually in everything like pre-2000 is pretty much that. And so a lot of times players don't understand that multi-location fire groups is a thing. It's a big one in this game, which means if you want to gather lots of firepower, 8 or more firepower, you need to stack. Do you want to stack? You got 11 units. Don't know if you want to stack. They have a tank that can overrun you. They have an artillery piece that will fire upon you with 12 firepower if it hits. Okay? Partisan leaders are considered elite. Why the hell do we need to know that? Leaders are considered elite. Well, guess what? Not partisans. This scenario special rule has to be included for what? It has in parentheses for DC use. And it says only. So why does it need to say that? It's because you have to be elite to operate the DCs without a penalty. So if the partisan squads were to get hold of that DC and place it, throw it, otherwise chuck it over a wall, it will have a non-qualified use penalty associated with it. There are some partisan scenarios that have demo charges with leaders that do not have that statement right there. Whether or not it was designed that way, don't know. I think they screwed it up and they don't realize that partisan leaders are not considered elite. I think they just didn't do their homework. But don't know, because it doesn't say on the scenario card, oh yeah, by the way, we, left out the fact that partisan leaders aren't elite and your DCs will destroy themselves on a 10. I'm pretty sure they probably screwed those up. But you see this, and you should be fine. That means the leaders can place the DCs without penalty. Doesn't mean the other guys can't place them, just place without penalty. Okay? So essentially, they're not captured. They're just non-qualified use. So that's it for that. So let's just head on over to the map board and we can take a look at the setups. Let me erase that circle. So who sets up first? Italian sets up first. So they'll set up between hex rows E and Y. C scenario special rules 2 and 3, which means in buildings and might deploy, could be in entrenchments, in open ground, or on a road hex. Okay? ELR2, very huge. Very huge to understand ELR2. Okay? Something to avoid. This is very critical to the scenario. i.e., you don't want to get a shot. Any shot against you is going to be bad. So, given that, we've got partisans set up south of hex row AA. Look, they set up south, and they have reinforcements coming along the north edge. Most likely, right then and there, that tells you it might be a, quote, a pincher move. You might be surrounded. And so we'll get to the board, and we'll try and decipher how this scenario plays out. Before we get to the map and to see how the setups are going, this is how the different versions of the balance show up in Roar. Take this with a grain of salt, however you want to read this. The journal shows them at 54 Italian, 77 partisan. Look at the Men of the Mountains of 265. Even after adding the medium machine gun, and pretty much that's about it. The very interesting result. The Italian 5, the partisan 7. That's about as exact as you can get in terms of the same ratio, even after adding the machine gun. So you ask yourself, if the guys won the game with the same ratio with one less medium, why didn't the medium actually make a difference here? You could say not enough sample size, 12 scenarios. Again, exact same ratio right now. Will another 12 scenario plays show a 10 to 14? Or do the machine guns not matter a damn in this one here? And I'll show you how the machine guns can make a difference. And I'm pretty sure why that medium machine gun didn't make a difference. And we'll get into that very shortly. So let's head to the map. All right, gentlemen, here is the scenario card and the board that is set up for the game. I think there's only the one overlay that's on the big M2 building. Essentially, it takes away multi-hex level 2 locations. We really don't care about that. The Italians aren't really going to make multi-hex location fire groups on that building, or maybe they would in the past in playtesting. I think the building can be easily bypassed. What it does is it forces, and the Italian LMGs got no range. If they put both mediums up there, you know, they could, but there's better places for them. So again, taking a look at your setup here, you've got your units of choice down here. This guy's probably too big. Anyway, I make the support weapons smaller so they fit on the counters. Anytime you see, actually, let's talk about the partisans. Partisans, 2 machine guns, 6 range. You know, if you've stacked 2 guys for an 8 firepower, you've got 8 firepower for 3 range. So, what that typically means is you might want to avoid the 8 firepower. Now, we're going to figure out how to avoid the 8 firepower, because if he sticks another guy on there, that's going to be, guess what? 8 firepower. And so it's not going to change. He's going to have 2 stacks, 8 firepower, and then a couple of units running around, maybe in 6 firepower, because they can't have multi-location fire groups, right? So he's got 2 guys, 6 firepower, and a couple 5 firepower units. Or he might do 5 and 3 to make 8 firepower. But again, how does the partisan make use of this firepower? Close range. What does the Italian have that not the Japanese player, that the partisan player does not have? The partisan player has 5 hex range LMG, crap LMGs, 10 machine gun range for the mediums. We've got 2 -1 leaders, which means you probably shouldn't stack your mediums at the same time anyway. A mortar, again, remember the mortar, and 4 range. We have 4 range, same firepower, 4 range, 6 morale. Say, hey Stu, they got 6 morale. The Italians suck. Yeah, that's how we're gonna put it. Do you see what these are? If an expert player tells you foxholes are death traps, they're not an expert player. Just a FYI, guys. Don't rely on them to tell you what the foxholes are for. You need to go read the foxhole rules, understand the foxholes, understand their functions as a defensive fortification, and understand how you move in and out, route through them before you play this game. Don't start the game and just say, oh, it's just a +2 building. Yeah, whatever. Whatever, Stu, shut the hell up. Go read what the foxhole rules do. It's a big deal. Overrun is 1. OBA is +4. Overrun is +4. What do we have in this scenario? We have a tank. What do tanks do? They can overrun, right? This 4 firepower vehicle, machine gun tank, which starts the game unmanned, mind you. This 4 firepower vehicle, where is he going to be effective in this game? Again, you have to look at your OB and say, where do these pieces become effective? Right? If you say, Stu, I can get 8 firepower, I can do 3-4-6, 3-4-6. Now we're even up, right? So we're going to take these guys, and I'm going to fight, and we're going to fight like right here. The partisans are going to come down the hill. I'm going to be in this building over here. He's got 8 firepower. I've got 8 firepower. I'm going to win. Wrong. You're going to lose. You have 6 morale. He has 7 morale. So how do you make up the difference? See this? 3 range. You want to engage him at 4 range. Maybe even longer. Maybe at 5. 5's legit. That would be a 4 chart. Where can we get a 4 range on this unit without him having actually decent terrain? Huh. Let's say he goes right here. He enters the woods, either there or here. What's the range? 4 hex range. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Long range. What do we have? 8 firepower plus 1. What does he have? 5 firepower plus 2. 8 plus 1. 4 plus 2. Who might have the advantage in that situation? The Italians. This is how you need to be setting up and looking at your OB to take advantage of your OB. These units, sure, you're in a stone building. Even if he goes here, even if you have a stone building over his wooden building, right? Or you're across the street, or whatever the case may be, or even if over here, that looks like it's a good distance. That's 3 hexes. He has 8 firepower. You have 8 firepower. You lose. If you're here, you lose. The plus 1 is far worse on the morale. If he gets a normal morale check on you, you're going to be in a heap of shit. His 8 firepower over here is going to decimate you most of the time. Even if he gets a pin, if he preps and he pins your units, then he's going to jump in close combat, right? Here's the level 2 location here. This is a steeple, so therefore it increases the level of that hex by 1 above the longest one. So this is a multi-story building, but it is then not. It is not 2 levels. It is only 1 level above, just like this building. It's treated just like this building, except for it has a steeple in that location, which only gives 1 second level location with limited capacity. So you can put a half squad up there. I believe the stacking limit of a steeple is a half squad. Again, that's what you need to read. Let's go check it out. What is the stacking limit of a steeple? Steeple. B31.2. I don't even know what the hell that's under. Probably under village terrain. Stacking. Steeple location has normal stacking limit of 1 half squad equivalent. 1 half squad equivalent. Don't assume that you could put multiple squads in that steeple location, which is at level 2. You have 1 half squad there, so therefore it cannot fire 2 weapons. Half squad fires 1 weapon. You could put a medium machine gun there and cover stuff on the hill. That could be a decent spot for a couple early shots, but you're not keeping it there. If you might keep it there if he doesn't approach the steeple area, which means if you pound a whole bunch of units over there in this general vicinity behind these stone buildings or the stone wall over here or right here, he might just take a southerly approach. Let's assume this is the south. I don't know what direction it is. Yes, this is actually the west. So in that case, the partisan might want to come this way to avoid your stack of units over here. So essentially, your units on the ground here might be protecting that unit at elevation. The problem in letting all these partisans get behind here is lots of those spots might be blind hexes, and you're probably not going to get multiple shots. And your medium is breakdown 11. So you're not going to get tons of shots. It will eventually break down. Once the partisans reach the hill, right? If they reach there in numbers, they can pretty much just charge the gun. But we're going to go into that. So just a basic defense. You know what you don't want to do. In my opinion, you could play it however you wish, but in my opinion, you want to keep them at range. How do you keep them at range? The partisan sets up on AA. The Italians set up on Y10. Hell, you could set up guys up on the, well, you'd have to set them in buildings, but you could set up units entrenched. And there's a scenario special rule, which we went over earlier, that means that you can set up 2 squad equivalents in entrenchments. I'll show you what I would do in this instance here. So in that case, we're not going to be up on the hill shooting them at 4 range. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to sit up here. He's going to close into range. You're not really going to get that shot because you have to sit up in the buildings. So he's going to have the short range. If you sit up in the building here, right, covering the area, he charges up the hill, spreads out on the hill. You're going to have a 2+1 shot if he advances on the hill, and then he'll just fire group. He'll have his 8 here, and then he'll have his other 8 here. 8+2, 8+2, you break, you route back here, he moves down, you surrender. And you'll never escape because you're Italian. Prisoners do you no good. So he's going to capture every single prisoner, stack them up on a little half squad, and call it good. So can you still be in these certain areas? Yes, but you are not staying there for any duration. Could you go here? That's not too bad of a spot. You could drop a fire lane with one of your look at this LMGs, fire lane here, fire lane down here, right? 3 hex range, so you could fire lane this way, and then you could block potential moves by shooting a Q8, R7, or S7, right? You could come back here and drop a fire lane this way. All right, is this res going to work? Yep. You could drop a fire lane on the top portion there. Kind of covers that open area. He's going to have to go to the left. He's going to have to go this way. Let me make that thicker. Okay. You could do either one of those. Those are viable. And then guess what? You get the hell out of dodge. 2, 4, advance. He essentially moves up to these areas. You move up to your 4 hex range. 2, 4, advance maybe. That's 3 hex range, so maybe you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then advance here. There's your 4 hex range. 4, 3, 4, 4. No multi-location fire groups for the partisans. 4 firepower up here, and the L9 is his sweet spot. Right, L9 is his sweet spot. So what do you think you might want to do if you're going to force the partisans to come down this way, and if that's a sweet spot for him to get to, because he can get to it easily. If he's here, he goes 2, 4, advance. Now you're in range. Now it's 8+2 if you're in a foxhole, and it's 8+1. Or right here, it's even. 8+1 going uphill. 8+1 if you have another squad. Let me just throw another squad. 8+1 here, firing back at him. Right? So this is what you need to think of before the game. This is like turn 4 or 5, maybe. All right? This is what you need to be thinking about, turn 4 or 5. You're right here. Okay? So how can we deal with that? He obviously doesn't want to go here because it's garbage for him. He knows that. You know that. That's why you're there. So, what might we have in our OB? We might have a mortar. And we might have a mortar right here. And because we could set up 2 squad equivalents. Let's take this out. This isn't exactly the direction I was going to go, but let's I'm going to put him over here for now, just off the board. So 2 squad equivalents. So at the beginning of the game, split that guy because the scenario special rules allow us to deploy a unit. We could have this guy under a foxhole with the mortar already here, waiting for him. Say, Stu, that's a stupid position for mortar. Well, is it? Maybe. But guess what? He can cover all these woods hexes, this woods location, that woods location, and all of these woods locations. Maybe even C9. Maybe. That's tight. That'd be a tight one. Maybe not. This will probably block it. All right. So he covers all these woods, which his reinforcements are coming on turn 3. So these will be covered. And these will be covered from right here. 45, 2 firepower, 2-1. Not bad. Rate of fire 2. Okay. Guess what he's going to be doing while the partisans are moving from here? Turn 1, turn 2, Turn 3, turn 4, he gets to here. What's he going to be doing? He's going to be digging more foxholes. So, dig a foxhole, and then there's another state, 3. So when these guys get there, when that other squad shows up, now you have a 3 squad foxhole, and all these units are right here. And guess what? This position doesn't look so fun anymore. Okay. 8 plus 1, 2 minus 1. 8 plus 1, 2 minus 1. Great attack. And then guess what? He'll have to attack. Oop. He'll have to attack this way by moving in the open ground to get to you. K9 just not assault movement. So if he's going to charge you, he has to go to open ground. Guess what? First of all, you could drop a fire lane straight down this line right here down to K9 as a continuous slope fire lane. Okay? You could possibly, if so inclined, if he has such a large number of units over here that's going to charge, you might consider moving here or moving here, so that way you can move down off the hill later if he obtains I-10, and you want to set up a fire lane down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You set that fire lane there. If he has a lot of units coming this way, you move to position here. If you're there a turn early, entrench the turn after that. You know, he's not going to be able to use this entrenchment against you. If you put your gun up on the other hill, on this hill over here, as I erase this, if you put your gun up over on this other hill and you put an entrenchment here and an entrenchment here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's barely in range of anything over here. So if you put stuff behind over here, the only thing that can reach you are the LMGs. He's not going to be breaking any units with those LMGs with their entrenchments. So consider this. Again, if you have, the key here is the mortar. Do you want the mortar in town? Do you want the mortar right here? Do you want the mortar in this woods right here? What's the mortar going to do with this position? What are your fire attacks here, guys? What are your fire attacks? He fires in T6. Hits. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1. Do you see the recurring theme here? Mortar doesn't go there. Dumb spot. Back over here would be better. A, you can retreat. 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1. If he wants to go through town, fine. Go through the town. You're going to be crossing those. You're going to be crossing these walls, taking up movement factors, and he's going to be funneled the attack. And at that point, if you have the medium up here, guess what? If you have the medium or another LMG, right? And he funnels units through the middle, right? All they get funneled through the middle because they don't want to deal with these fire lanes and the mortars. The fire lane right there. The medium machine gun fires on top. I'd rather have the medium machine gun fire lane there. But again, look at what do we have. Look at what we have. I'm going to adjust this, and it's going to screw up a little bit, so bear with me. All right, let me change the color. Let's go with dark orange, okay? There's a fire lane there. He can fire back at you at the 8 plus 2. We don't want the 8 plus 2. But if he's right here and he fires up at our medium machine gun, what firepower is that? Squad's going to be half firepower. That's at 4 hex range. Guess what? If you're at 4 hex range and you're at level 1, you fire back at him. If those units in N3 are at level 1, in N2, you get to fire back at 8+1. Not a bad exchange. Units in that location also get to fire. Let me go get the elevation marker. Here it is. Just throw it over there. All right. Let's say you're at level 1. Now, this is a full squad capacity level 1. Let's say you have a setup like that. What's the range to N6? What's the range to N6? 4. Surprisingly, it's 4. These guys move across, do whatever they need to do. Okay. You could divvy that up. 2 minus 2s, 2 minus 2s, 2 minus 2s. You got 3 2 minus 2 shots here. Leaves 1 residual behind. If you have 3 2 minus 2 shots here, say, Stu, you're giving up the fire lane. You're giving up the fire lane, you fool. What are you doing? Well, if I'm at first level, A, he's probably not going to be able to get to you. But B, you fire the fire lane, so what does that do? Give me 1 second. Let me grab something. All right. Piece of cake. So, instead of the fire lane, say, Stu, you screwed up. You should have put him down here. Yes, I grabbed the top. I don't give a shit. He's dropping a fire lane there. Okay. So what does this do for us? You know, we have an open shot at 06, not a bad spot. Both this spot and that spot, pretty decent spots. What does this spot give us? It gives us lines of sight over this. Right? It doesn't give us wall advantage in N3, but it does give us line of fire over it. So any shots in N4, then there won't be any residual. But if you shoot here and here with 2 minus 2s, it's going to leave 1 residuals, which is almost in effect, you know, almost like a fire lane there. You've pretty much done the same thing, but you're giving something up instead. You're giving up N4. Problem is, N4 is a good spot. It's +2, +2, +2. And then he can move up to L5, and you can't see him because this is a 1.5 level obstacle. Multi-hex buildings create another half level on it. So the units on first level here cannot see units on first level here. Clear shot. So he gets to do what he wants to on this side. So something that you want to take into consideration. So machine guns, good for fire lanes. Again, right? This is what I'm looking at. Decent fire lane. You can have a guy here. Shoot a decent fire lane this way. I'm going to displace it to the side a little bit for the alternate hex grains. I could be an I6. I could shoot a decent fire lane this way. Right? If the partisan wants to go to the top, I could shoot a fire lane that way. It's not going to affect anybody on the ground level here, but it will affect them on the first levels over here. Right? So we've got a couple of fire lanes we can choose. We could drop a guy back in F7, maybe have an entrenchment, fire lane this way. I don't think the partisans would probably go that way, but hey, if he wants to get to the building, fire, you know, set it up for firing. And guess what? What range is that? What's the range between F7 and J9? Magic number 4. We are in normal range. They are long range. Do you see the recurring theme? He has more numbers than you. He has units, and we're going to get to the more important point here in just a moment. All right, so we've got a residual down here, and this, that, and the other. So those are things that you can do. Let's say these units can set up over here, and let's say just they're just going to. Again, you can move them. You're just setting them up on the board so you can move them. This guy was half squatted. So how do we take advantage of the scenario special rules? Okay, that's what I want to have happen. That's what I want. There we go. Okay, in lieu of a 2.9. If you don't know what 2.9 is, go read it. The Italians may freely deploy less than 2 squads, less than or equal to 2 squads, because the less than 2 squads would be 1 squad, prior to setup. Why do you think that scenario special rule is there? And guess what? Units in suitable terrain may set up entrenched, because everybody else is in buildings. So therefore, the only units that can be entrenched are the 2 squads you deploy. up to 2 squads that you deploy. So what are we going to do? We're going to deploy 2 squads. Where's my other house squad? Here it is over here. So this could be a decent spot for one. I'm going to take this guy off as the other house squad. Clone. All right, so there's our 2 squad equivalents. Deployed. Do these guys have any firepower whatsoever? Garbage. 1-2 is still effective, though. But they are garbage for doing really anything. So, in our OB, we've depleted ourselves 2 squads. We have a squad here. 1, 2, 3. How many does that leave? 8 squads. We deployed 2. Leaves 6. Oh, the other 2 up on the hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just throw them on the board. What are these guys going to do? Right? You can put one here. I might put one here for fire lane. There might be a fire lane down here with the medium. Probably useless. Probably a bad spot for it. All right. First level. Medium on first level over here. I'm just going to put these guys just here just for shits and giggles. First level over here with the medium. Let's just say the squad's carrying the medium. What can he fire on the partisans over here? First of all, if you don't set up in the front, are the partisans going to go up and over the hill? Probably not. Probably not, because if you have got a medium up here, and again, your medium up here does not see past U6 to first level units. You can't see any of these people in these hexes here. Nope. 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 This is a close, but I'm going to call it a nope. And nope. Okay? Guess what direction the partisan is going to move? He's going to start on this row. 1, bypass 2, bypass 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn 1 with no CXing. 7, 8 into U7 or yeah. 7, 8 into U7. Okay, and then he's going to advance into T6. He's in T6 on turn 1. Can you see him from your location at level 1 here? Pretty close. That's close. It might be worth a shot. 1, 2, 3. 3. It's gonna bisect right here. I would consider that a clear line of sight. You probably have a clear line of sight to T6, but what's your firepower? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you have 2 squads there, which would be less efficient, because if you have 2 squads, here's the second one, which means I've only got like 3 other guys pretty much in play, right? And here's the bad guys coming. They're coming at me over here. That's not going to be very effective. You would essentially what you want to do, you need to catch the partisans moving in the open. Where is your gun going to be placed? Your gun is the victory conditions. Are you going to set it up in the front so you can capture it like on turn 2 and win the game? No, most likely your gun is going to be probably back here somewhere, or it could be in here. I mean, you could set up any number of spots. Personally, the further it is away from the partisans, the more difficult it's going to be for him to get to it. So, taking that into account, and one more, we're going to finish one more thing on the fire lanes, and then we're going to take into account where we might want to put the gun, because that's where our defense is going to be. Let's bring these machine guns. I'm not even going to worry about the leaders. I can't count. I don't count on the leaders. So we've got a medium up there. Let's just say it's on level 2. Flip this bad boy over. We put the medium up there. Let's just say it's for the full squad. Let's say we've got a guy on ground level, just so we could shoot at some guys in the open. He's not going to be very effective, because what are we not going to do with this 3-4-6? We first fire the unit. Let me get a counter. All right, we got the counter. He first fires. Let me reduce that. It's way too damn big. Still too big. First fires at a unit. Let's say he subsequent first fires at another unit. So he's final fired. Let me find a bad guy. He first fires on this unit. Subsequent first fires on that unit. And then we have another unit either entering the shell hole or not entering the shell hole. What are we not doing here? What are we not doing here? We are never final protective firing. Not at this position. We'd be better off having this guy jump into close combat and tying him up into close combat than to roll a 6 or higher to pin ourselves, which means we're going to jack shit in close combat when he comes after us, right? If we roll less than that, okay, you need to roll a 5, 4, 3, or 2. Wow, that doesn't give us much hope. That might be a 25% chance of rolling a 5 or less. So that's not a good deal. You're not final protective firing. You'd be much better off. Again, he's advanced firing, cannot multi-location fire group. This is not going to be a 6, 8 chart on you, or 4, 9, or whatever the case may be. Whatever the hell it is. Whatever this might be normally, it won't be in this game. He'll have a 6 firepower plus 2, good defense. This guy has a 4 plus 2, great defense. This guy has a 1 plus 2, great defense. If he happens to roll snake eyes on any of those units, so be it. Right? So be it. Especially this unit. Partisans do not cower, so his snake eyes don't matter. I don't think they cower. They might cower. Check the rule in this partisan. See if they cower. And get back to me. Put it in the comments below. If they cower, put it in the comments below. All right? But you are not breaking yourself for him. Because guess what you're not doing? Where are you routing? 2-4. You could route there for 4. You could ignore that because this would be 2-4. And then you could go another one for 6. But if he gets anybody near that location, if you're DM'd, you are never rallying this unit. Period. You have to lose your DM status. And again, that's going to play a part in comparison with what the partisan reinforcement is going to be. If you break and you go DM, you aren't rallying. So you're not taking this final protective fire shot. You're taking the 1-2 in close combat. Okay, 1-2 in close combat yields a kill on what? 1-2. Well, 1-1 is a 5. So 1-2, subtract 1, is a 4. So if you roll a 2, 3, or 4, you actually kill a unit. If you roll a 5, nothing happens. Guess what? If he was here and you rolled a 2, 3, or 4, well, 2 minus 2 would cower, so you would be down 2-1. That might casually reduce him, but if you roll a 3, that might actually do some damage too. That would KO. A 4 does nothing when you roll right there. Okay, 1's going to cower. 1's going to cower 2. Actually, 4. Same thing. But if you roll 2, 3, or 4 in this instance, you have a chance of breaking. If he engages you here and you roll that same 2, 3, or 4, he breaks. And if you roll above it, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you don't break. So you preserve yourself. And if you don't kill him, he can't move anymore. What do the partisans need to do? They need to win. This is probably turn 4. To probably turn 3 or 4, he might be in this position, depending on how aggressive he is, right? He might be there in 3 or 4. Let's just say 4. If you time up for 1 turn, that means he has 3 more turns. 3 more partisan turns. Let me flip that bad boy over. 3 more partisan turns to get to the gun, which is most likely going to be over here. Let me go get the gun. All right. Let's say the gun. You could put it here. Let's just say you're going to put it there. So you just say you start your tank up right here. All right. Just for shits and just so they're on the map. Right. So he has to go over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 advance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 advance. It's take 3 minimum turns to get to you. So if you've tied him up by turn 5, 1, 2, 3. That's it. Done. He can't get there. This guy can't get there. Other guys can get there, but he can't get there. If you tied him up for 1 turn. If you die, that's fine. You've essentially exchanged squads. If you exchange a 1-for-1 ratio, what does that lead you? You've lost 8. And so that means he'll have 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Not that good of exchange, but you do have an artillery piece and the tank. Say, okay, Stu, so what's going on with the tank? We got a tank and it's going to kick ass and I'm happy because I've got a tiny tank. He doesn't have any. His only anti-tank weapons are what? Demo charge? Nah, demo charge not going to do shit to a tank. You're not going to use it against a tank. You're not going to waste the demo charge on the tank. You're going to take the demo charge. You're going to break the guy that's on the gun because that's the VC. So you've got the tank. What am I going to do to the tank? Am I going to man it and then drive it here? Start shooting guys over here? Is that a good use of that tank? Remember, he's got lots of units. How many shots do you have the tank? Probably 1. 1, 2. Rat-a-tat-tat. This guy breaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Let's just say he goes in there. Doesn't break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say this leader's back here with these guys. He runs to this location here. We're probably going to jump you in close combat. You might get away. I'm going to go, boom. This CX guy probably is not going to engage. Probably this guy and this guy will jump you into close combat. I have a 6 and then 2 5s to kill you. And I get to roll first. All right, 6 and 2 5s. Pretty good. Do you want that to happen? Because you broke 1 unit? Oh, damn it. Because you broke this guy right here? Don't really care. What you want to do is either put the tank up here. Again, these guys are going to be setting up. I would probably set these guys up over here. This is just for a real quick example. And what are these guys going to start with? Yep, foxholes. Guess what they're going to be doing during the game? They're going to be digging more foxholes. Probably make it a 2 squad. It's probably all you need. You probably are not going to be putting 3 squads on that. So go 2 squad foxholes. Let me flip this. Oh, Jesus. Let me see. There we go. 2 squads. Let me just delete these. All right. You're going to go 2 squad foxholes. Then he's going to move. He's going to move. Right? These guys are shit for firepower. So make them do something useful. Make foxholes. Come back here. Make a foxhole. Foxhole here would be pretty decent. Why would that not be a bad spot for a foxhole? Or down here. Have one guy go here. Have one guy go here. Start digging some foxholes. What the hell are they going to do foxholes there for, Stu? Hell, these could be 1 squad foxholes. Right? Flip this. 1 squad. Clone that. Why do we want to put 1 squad foxholes here? This one's a little bit more riskier to put there. Why is that one more risky? And we'll get back to the tank in just a second. Why is that one a little bit more risky? Because the partisans, either the partisans coming from here or the ones that are coming on turn 3, these guys, could possibly get to this position, E6 or D5, and advance into this location later on. Will he do that early? Probably not, because you're going to swivel this gun this way. And that will be a point-blank shot. What's the critical hit needed if he moves in the open over here? If he moves right here, in an attempt to, let's just say he assault moves there. And your gun's tilted this direction. You fire on him. Kaboom! And by the way, you're not intensifying that gun at all during the game unless it's like the last, unless not even if it's probably even the last turn. Breakdowns 9 is not what you want to happen. You're probably never going to intensify that gun. Does this gun have smoke? Don't know. Flip it. No, it's got heat. I don't think it has smoke. So, what's the crit on this unit here? Base to hit number's 8. Assault movies in moving in the open, it's -1. It is not point blank. So you need a 9 to hit. Less than half the hit number means you will crit on a 4 or 3 or a 2. Of course, you'll crit on a 2. 4, 3, 2. Right? Not bad. Right? You shoot him, you blast him, kaboom, you'll leave a ton of residual. All right? And then you're probably going to have a guy here in the foxhole with a machine gun, LMG, or something like that. You can drop down a continuous slope fire lane there if you wish. You definitely would need to preserve your flank over to D3 from an E4 unit. So you can get into that in your defensive setup. I can't cover all the setups here. I'm just covering general concepts that you might need to consider simply because you're outnumbered by a better morale force, which means if you're in the same terrain, you're going to be in trouble because he's going to outbest you, just like we covered before. So after we dig our foxholes here, this is probably turn 2, right? Turn 2, we might have some foxholes there, some 2-squad foxholes. Where's the partisan on turn 2? He's probably up on the hill turn 1. He's probably here on turn 2, somewhere in the middle, right? So the partisan force is somewhere in the middle. He can't fire on you at that range. He's got nothing within range, and you're at one hill. So turn 3, bad guys come on the left-hand side over here. Right, let me go get them. Bad guys will come over here. Right, what's he probably going to do? He might sneak this way. Right, that's a possibility. He might come over here. Let's just say he comes over here. Parks. Let's say there's some guys down on the bottom. So we got these guys retreating. All right. Let's say one of our squads is over here because we're going to make our 8 firepower. I don't really care about the leaders right now because, again, in this one, if you break, you're pretty much a goner. So he's going to give us a 2-squad foxhole here, maybe a 3-squad here, which would be not bad because they can't really use it against us. So what's the tank going to be used for? First of all, it's unmanned. You have to man it. It's not going to be a big deal. It just means, all that means in this particular instance is the gun can't fire on turn 1. The tank can't move on turn 1. Turn 2, you occupy the tank by expending all your movement factors. The gun can swivel and fire. Is this gun engaging partisans coming across this way? Let's say the partisans are coming down this way, and he could see like 1 or 2 of them down here. Is this gun going to fire this direction on these partisan units? Let's say he dashes. Again, the partisan needs to dash, or I can be honest with you, the partisan might consider just moving in the open. Why? What do you notice about the artillery piece? Let's flip it over. See, just no smoke? No smoke. Breakdown 11. Pretty easy to do. You guys break down your tanks all the time, intensifying those damn things. All the time, your tanks are mouthed. Breakdown 11. This is not a German gun. You guys need to remember this is not a German gun. What is the range? From there to there. Count the hexes. $11 hexes. What's the base to hit at 11 hexes? Is it a 7? Is it an 8? What is it for that Italian gun? It's a 6. Why is it a 6? Stu, you're an idiot. It's not a 6. It's a 7. Nope. Red to hit numbers. Red to hit numbers. If that's a French artillery piece, fire it. Black to hit numbers, baby. Pretty much everybody else, even the Americans, like pre-42 or pre-43 or some crap like that. Again, read your nationality descriptions. Don't be using black to hit numbers or you'll screw the game up. Right? Again, if he runs over this hill without this Italian unit with him, let's say the Italian unit's over here. If he's over here, are you firing this gun on these units? What's the range? One, 2, 3, 4, 12. That's all you need. 12 to 18. Okay. What do you need to hit at 12 to 18? Dude, that's not too bad. 12 to 18 is not too bad at all. Well, where are you to hit charts? Buy some rat charts. Buy the ESL rulebook. So you have the charts for free. 13 to 18. Red to hit numbers. Right, type in down below what the red to hit number is at 13 to 18 hexes. Unit is moving in the open. What do you need to hit him? With this gun, 75 star. This is what you need to know before you start rolling dice, people. You need to know what your effective range is. Okay? 75 star, 13 to 18, moving in the open. We're not even assault moving. We're just hauling ass over that. We don't give a crap. Moving in the open, star weapon, -1. Your crap. Your range decreases after 12. -1 makes it a base to hit of 4. You need a 4 to hit him. What do you need to break the gun? 11. Right? 11. You have 3 chances. 3 chances in 36 to break the gun straight outright. So you need a base 4 to hit him, -2, moving the open non-assault movement. You need a 6 to hit him. You're going to hit him 1 in 6. You're going to break the gun 1 in 12. Okay? Let's just say you break 2 guys. You break 2 guys, then your gun breaks in the 3rd shot. Okay? You're not taking that shot. Your gun is not an anti-infantry unit back over here. If you do that and lose the scenario, don't know what to say. Know your weapons. So, partisans, move up here. Turn 3 comes. Partisans move over here. You probably swivel your gun this way. If it's there. Could your gun be here? Sure, absolutely. Could your gun be here? Sure, absolutely. Let's just say my gun's here. For whatever reason. So, right? I probably can't see C6, but who could see C6? Maybe these guys. Yeah. Maybe you don't put the mortar over here. Maybe you put the mortar on this side, not foxhole. Right? Not a bad spot. He gets to see C4. Not bad. He gets to see all of these. He gets to see this one. And he could see E9. He could probably see D8. It's not a bad spot. And he could see these woods here in the middle. So any partisans that get past the middle and go in these nice fine shell holes, which don't occur on any other board but like board 3, because, you know, why not? Let's just clear up all the maps. I'm not sure why no other maps don't use shell holes. There's such a nice terrain feature. It's too bad that more maps don't have an errant shell hole here and there. So this is a possible arrangement for the partisans. What's the problem here? Well, if we're a +2 terrain up here, not much of a problem at all. If we don't have the foxholes, and let's say our units happen to come back here, and we're just defending on the hill, guess what? Well, he's at long range. Let's just say he's here. And these guys are stacked, so that's a 6 + 1. You're a 6 + 1. Shell holes +1. You're even. Who wins when the odds are even? Partisan. He wins. Right? You're in a foxhole. He's in a foxhole. Let's say this guy's with him just for the hell of it because it's nice and warm, right? Now, he can still have the same 6. 6 plus 2, 6 plus 2. Guess what? 4 plus 1, 6 plus 1. Much better. Much better. Okay? If the partisan makes it up to the top of the hill, you won a point-blank shots, and if he wants to jump into close combat with you, so be it. Again, with your 3, 4, 6 units jumping into close combat, that's a 1-to-1, right? But your morale doesn't matter. Right? He could shoot into that hex, might cause you some issues, which, whatever, that's possible, but that might help you. All right? So, let's say he advances. Let's say your vehicle's over here. Or say your vehicle's over here. Kind of mid to late game. You say, I'm gonna have my machine gun here. Actually, let's go back to this spot here. My bad. And then we'll finish up with the tank. And then we'll call it good. And then you guys can go play a scenario. Why do I want foxholes there? Say, Stu, you're out of your mind. This one's out in the middle of nowhere. This one's too far up front. You know, we have the 75 kind of guarding this unit. Again, that's why it's there. The 75's in the background. We probably don't want to bother. Then we might want to move the foxhole up here. Why do we want to do that? Because your OB has 5 machine guns in it. This one over here. Let's say these guys get over here too. This guy's got a machine gun. Let's say this guy's got a machine gun. Right? Let's say this guy up here has a machine gun. For whatever reason. This guy's got a machine gun, right? And let's say for whatever reason this guy might be here. Right? Early on, if the partisans are moving coming this way, what can he do here? Fire lane straight across. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fire lane straight across. Right? That's possible. Okay, G5. Let's put him in G5. What's he going to do there? G Stu. Fire lane straight across. See the commonality here? I5 and H5 have no effect. J5, K5, L5. All affected by the fire lane. Okay. Can he come on the bottom? Can he come on the ground level? Absolutely, he can come on the ground level. Right? If you see that's going to be his plan, then you make adjustments. Let's move this guy back up on the hill. Let's just say for whatever reasons he's up here, these guys start coming this way. Right? We get up on the hill. Let's say they're moving or whatever. What are we doing? What's this guy doing? We're not doing that. We're doing that. Fire lane. So they can't charge straight up the hill. Right? They can't go that way. All those are free shots. If we don't like that fire lane, because for whatever reason, let's say he moved up to G5. You say, oh, no. That ain't happening. Drop a fire lane. You cover F4, G5, H4. Now you have 1 firepower in each one of those. Why are we dropping so many fire lanes? Because we're maximizing our firepower. We're not firing a 2 firepower -2 on this unit. That's what he wants. Because you will first fire, or you're going to malfunction your weapon, or you're going to cower, or whatever, and then all the other units charge. Or get together in decent little fire groups and make a group. Drop a fire lane. Make a decision. Do you want to take a 1 -2? Are you moving there with a 1 -2? Oh, this is actually a 2 -2 because it's point blank, right? Probably not. Is he moving here? Maybe. If he's moving there, he's not getting really any closer to our gun. And again, if your gun's right here, you're protecting its front. You've got that fire lane there. Now the backside. We're going to regurgitate the same concept, gentlemen and ladies. What the hell's this for? Let's say he came through this area, right? Lots of cover over here. He's got a couple leaders, a couple demo charges. Let's say he's going to make approach this way. What are we going to do here? If you said fire lane, give yourself a +2 in your next attack. Fire lane E2, F1, G2, H1, I2. Right? What's he going to do? Bypass 1, 2, 3, 4. So what? He doesn't get up to here. Then he advances. So what? Now we can fire on these guys. Right? Another thing, backside. And this is the 2 firepower. If he moves here, what can we do? We could shoot down this way. Right? Is that the best fire lane we can have? Nah, probably not. But if we know this fire lane's coming, his flank is covered. His right side is covered. I2 is covered. Right? So we could fire lane down there, which stops that bullshit. You know, he could double time a guy with the leader, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and stay out of your fire lane. And since you're a half squad, you can't fire again. And then he jumps in close combat and kills you. So that's why we're shooting six even right there. And probably dropping a fire lane. Right? That's the, you know, good fire. Even LMG 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coincidentally, that's 5 hexes long. Do we need it any longer? No, because it won't matter. The fire lane at these levels make no difference because it's too far below. Right? Consider your fire lanes. Let's say you didn't consider your fire lanes. You screwed up and say, you know, Stu, you know, I had a guy up here and he's stuck up there and, you know, he's at level 2 and I'm shooting stuff and I'm firing at 2+2 in the buildings and I'm just not getting any results. You know, let's say I've put up a foxhole here for whatever reason. And I got a tank over here and he's got all these units. He's got all these dudes. Look at this. He's got a demo charge in this guy. He's got a dude here. You know, he's got a guy in the back. I've got my tank here. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, Stu. You know, I could fire four firepower, get a machine gun, maybe get a rate of fire again. Nope. The answer to your question is no. You are not doing that with the tank. Breakdown 11. What are we doing with the tank? I'm going to help you. It's in chapter D. Coincidentally, D is tanks and vehicles. More specifically, D7. Go read chapter D7 before you start the scenario. Right? What is D7? Guys that have read it 15 times are probably familiar with it. It is overrunning. You are not firing that machine gun if there's any partisan in the open, especially a 527 or a leader. You're going to overrun every single time. How do we overrun? The basis of overrun is expending 1/4 your movement factors plus the cost of terrain. What's 1/4 of, first of all, what's 1/4 of 13? That would be 12, 3, and a fraction. Unfortunately, you round the whole way up, which is stupid because some things you keep fractions. So it will be a base 4 plus the terrain to overrun. So that's 5. 5 for each X. So we start up for 1, 2, 7, overrun. Okay, what's the firepower on this overrun? Well, that's why you read that section. You look at the base firepower of a tank, and it has modifications for being a machine gun or not a machine gun. So machine gun tanks overrunning, I believe, are base 2 firepower. Then you're tripled and halved with your machine guns. I'm pretty sure you get to add the bow machine guns. Yep, 2 firepower plus tripled and half of all functioning main arm machine guns. So 2, tripled and halved of 4. Guess what? 4 times 3 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. Plus 2, because the base AFE is an 8. You have 8 firepower when you overrun. If I sit over here and roll my dice, I have 4 firepower. Why would you ever do that? He has practically no anti-tank capability, and even if he has 15 LMGs over here, let him shoot. Because if he's breaking his LMGs on your tank, so be it. He's not shooting your infantry. We overrun here. Start for 1, 2, and then we add 5 for here because it's 4 plus the COT. So 7. We overrun. Right? He can attack us. Right? We're still we're still moving. So he can attack us. He would need a 3 for an attempted kill, if possible. You know, for overrun, look at your overrun flow chart. Again, any overrun flow chart you have, or look at the overruns and see what the close combat reaction fire that the infantry may have. Go through that. I'm not worried about their defenses right now. I'm worried about us keeping our artillery piece right over here in the game. So, 8 firepower. What's the TEM? He is in open ground. When you overrun a unit in open ground, you get a -1. It is the open ground modifier applies. That will be an 8 firepower -1 attack. If you roll a 7, it will be a 1 morale check on this unit. What does he need to roll? 6, right? So let's say he breaks. We roll a 5 and he rolls a 6, so he breaks. All right, what do we do then? Are we done? You want to say to yourself, hell no, stew. Because after we overrun here, we may continue to overrun. How much will it cost to overrun this unit? We can either overrun this unit or that unit. So it is 7 movement factors to move here. How many do we have left? 6. All right, so we probably only have 1 more. You could ESB to overrun the other guy, but probably not. Overrun the next guy. Again, these guys are probably point blank. These guys are still in the open ground. Overrun this guy. What's the firepower? Same as this guy. 8 -1. He fails. You end up here, or you just change covered art for your final movement point. You could change your covered art and end right there. Is that the best spot? You could just move here and here. Then your gun can't fire. You could possibly move here. Let's see. That's 5, 1, 2, 7, 11, 12, 13. All right. Now you cover the woods, and you got a point blank on this guy. So he's gonna have to make a decision. Do I go adjacent or do I go on this side? And if he's going this side, what happens? He's not going towards the objective. Okay, these guys break. What happens when they break? They're in big trouble. If no quarters involved, at least they're low crawling. I don't think you'd have to check on the partisans to see if they become prisoners. I don't. It might be a scenario special rule, might be a partisan rule. Check it up again. Every single time I've played the partisans a ton. Go back, read the nationality distinctions. Read what they can do. Read what their abilities are. Some guys, they don't care. They're gunner out. Boom. And they don't take interdiction. Whatever stupid special rule these guys might have. But are these guys coming back? If this is turn 5, what's the chances of these guys coming into the game? Slim to none. Let's say he comes back over here and they're DM'd. The partisan turn, because we just overran them. He tries to rally them. Doesn't work. The Italian turn, let's say he rallies them. He rallies one of them. Assuming we don't fire on him, he has a 1-5-2-7. He's out of range. Now he's got to move again. That's another turn. That's turn 7 probably right there. He probably won't have a ton of impact in the game. You know, anytime you break units, it's a good thing. So let's say they go back there. And then what do you do next turn? Let's see these guys chicken shit out and they go this way. Okay, you're still in motion. So you go boom, turn, overrun, overrun. And you probably end up here. And then maybe turn back this way. Guess what you did? You overran these guys. They broke. What happened to these guys? They got this imaginary DM on them. Again, that's why you don't want to waste your time with the bow machine gun firing on units in the village. 4+2 with a breakdown of 11. That vehicle, this bow machine gun, will not be in the game if you're doing that in the first half of the game to defend via the overrun. right? You're attacking twice in the movement phase in your turn, and you're attacking once in his turn. Okay? That's what this vehicle's for. It's to clear out units that are getting closer. Okay? If he shoots and kills us, again, we're moving. The beauty of this vehicle is why I love it. If you're moving, you're +4 to hit. His machine guns need a 6 to hit you at close range. That's pretty hard to hit. That's pretty hard to hit if you're moving. And you're always going to be in motion because why? Because you're going to be doing nothing but overrunning these guys. And if you're in motion, at least you still get a 2 firepower machine gun attack. Right? You don't need much to break these guys. And then you just overrun them again. Okay? So that's the basics of the game. Again, summary. Artillery piece does not fire at anything past 12 hexes. Because the chances of you breaking your gun over what effect might happen is risk versus reward. It's not worth it. That's what your machine guns at 10 hex range are here to do. Fire him at 10 hex range, fire the other medium 10 hex range. You're going to get a couple shots. Let's say both those mediums break 4 units by the time they actually get their assault going. That's probably a third to 25% of the partisan force. Will that be enough? Maybe. But it will be a start. Okay? Do you have enough units to go head-to-head in the town? No. He has more units than you. Right? For those that are playing in war, what have we seen in many games where the opponent has more units than you? He breaks you and surrounds you. Italians do not fight back when they're prisoners. If you break the partisan, the Italian will not try to attempt to escape. Your prisoner units are gone. Your units are gone. Preserve your force, come back, get into spots where you have the advantage, even if it's for a turn or a fire phase, 4 hex range, 4 hex range. And then when he's done, you can either prep fire and then just assault move out of the way. Or advance phase out. Right? And if he makes it up to if he moves up the hill, advances up there, you fire, take your shots, or not take your shots if he advances, then you go down. He can't see you. Pretty safe. Determine what your withdrawal plan is. If he goes in the foxhole, who cares? So, overrun. Tank, overrun. LMGs, fire lanes. Medium machine gun, reach out, touch someone, fire lanes. Right? If you end up with a unit here, for whatever reason, and he doesn't decimate you, which he probably needs to, you have a unit at first level here, what are you going to do? If the partisans are coming down this way, and your guys are running back this way, they start moving over, what do? Easy, Stu. Fire lane. Do you get the idea? If I said it? What did I say? Fire lane? Right? 1 or 2 units per turn. Affect a long area. If you drop a fire lane there, he has to make a decision. You don't even have to fire anything else. Those are all free attacks, gentlemen. Free attacks. Fire lanes, free attacks. Drop your residuals, free attacks. If you have a high squad with the LMG and he fire lanes, you need somebody next to him to protect him from partisans running up on you, because he cannot fire at other units. If you got a fire lane going this way, he can't do anything when this 337 comes calling. Then he jumps you in close combat, kills you 3-1. Now he's got your LMG. All right. You need to protect him. Gun, infantry, infantry. All right. Simple. All right. Not too bad. Not too bad. Very simple concepts here. The other thing you need to take into consideration for strategy-wise in this one here. Again, what time do we anticipate the partisans getting over here? Maybe turn 5. Maybe turn 5 over here, right? Partisans are up on this hill, turn 5. These guys are, I've been here for turn 3. What's the problem? What's the problem if we're up on this hill? On turn 3. These guys are going to come in. Maybe go here, maybe make a move up here, split up. Now it's hard for you to get past over here. These guys are cut off now. These guys are going to have trouble. And if these guys get behind you, down here, and let's say you had a unit right over here, and this unit breaks, he can't route down towards his cover. All this guy has to do is stand there all day. And guys on this backside, level 2s, can't route this direction. They have to go that way, away from your objective. This guy can cause route issues. When he comes on turn 3, you know, that's why I like to have the mortar back here. Either here or over here, and shoot at spots where he's going to be. I'd rather have the mortar over here. Right? Because if the enemy starts moving the top part, then you simply move the mortar down here. And he can attack various areas down here. Don't bother with the stone buildings. Don't bother. Okay. So that's my idea on this one here. Is it the best idea? Certainly not. But that's things to consider. Again, your OB, what does your OB show you? You have 8 squads as the Italian. You have 6 support weapons. What's more important, the squads or the support weapons? Right? Partisans, you have 11 units, 2 LMGs. I'm not counting the DCs because DCs are hard to place. You have 2 support weapons. What are the partisans focusing on? Bodies. Italians, machine guns, fire lanes. The fire lanes counter the number of bodies. Right? When you see a scenario like this screams, why the hell they have so many fire lanes, Stu? I should hear you screaming that in Minnesota. Stu, why do they have so many damn some machine guns? Because you just finished reading the fire lane section of the rulebook, and you determined that these are pretty badass. Even 2.5 LMGs break down 11s of the Italians. They put down the exact same firepower fire lane as all the other LMGs in the game. All right? Far more effective. Far more effective. Okay? Consider that. Think of interesting ways. Play this scenario. Upload the log to ASL Scenario Archive or ASLPlayers.net. Right? Don't be a loser. Upload your logs so we can enjoy them too. We can see how you say, I did this and made Stu look like an idiot because this plan worked perfectly. That's what I want to see. I want you to make me look like, well, I do that half the time by myself. But if you want to, feel free. Right? Upload the logs, not difficult. If you need to find out how to create a log, ASL Scenario Archive has like 10 videos on how to create a log. Different ways to do it, how to concatenate them, how to play with them, do whatever you need to do. It's pretty simple, gentlemen. You're playing ASL. If you don't know how to create a log, you might consider not playing ASL. Okay? This is what we're looking at. And again, I'm more worried about these 3 guys coming behind me than I am the 11 guys in front of me. All right? That's what I'm worried about. These 3 dudes and an 8-1 leader. That's huge. Otherwise, this game's easy, right? This would just be an easy game. You line them up. The partisans come up. They get shot. If they come from 2 different directions, you've got nowhere, guess what, to route. Nowhere to route. And what happens when we don't have units able to route? They die. And in this case, they surrender and never escape. And that, for all intents and purposes, they die. So go play this. If you say this looks sucky, Stu, well, so be it. You can play another scenario. But the key is, get out there and what, gentlemen? Go play some ASL.